Welcome back. This is Star Breakfast on Citizen TV. Time for us to talk health matters today. We're going to be discussing a public health epidemic that has not only taken over the world, but now quite strongly taking hold in various parts of Africa. We're going to be talking more about obesity. I've got General Physician Dr. Theophilus Wangata here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Jay. And
also Kunga Kihohia. Did I say that correct?
Yes, you got it right.
All right. So we'll be talking a little bit about your sort of experience with obesity and what your journey has been like.
Very well.
So I think, first of all, it's important to establish that this is not a Western phenomenon anymore. We've had that understanding that, you know, people in the West are the ones eating the junk food and the ones getting obese, but now the problem has come our way. So what has happened? What has changed there?
We have become more modernized. We have become a junk food society, and we do not care so much about what we eat. So especially in upmarket areas, but also it has gone to the rural areas of this country. So we've become just as obese as some Western societies. Yes.
When you talk about it going to the rural areas, how is that happening? Because, you know, we tend to think that all the fast food chains that have come to Kenya recently are sort of to blame for this. So what's happening in the rural areas? Are people just not, you know, working as much, walking as much? Is the activity level decreased?
First of all, in the traditional Kenyan society, if you have a pot or a kitambi or the public opinion, you are known to be somebody who is doing well. So naturally that has made people to think that if you get more fat, everybody will think that you're fine.
It's a sign of wealth.
It's a sign of wealth, and the rural areas are not an exception. So that has contributed, and so people don't watch what they eat, and especially after menopause for women, and after a certain age for men, the weight just starts coming because the BMI or the basal metabolic rate, the BMR, starts to slow down. And when your metabolism slows down because of age, the weight just comes. And especially if you don't
get off as fast.
It doesn't get off as fast, and especially if you just don't care what you're eating.
Now, Kunga, your story, you were in the U.S. for quite a number of years?
Yes, actually, Kenyan born in Miami, Florida.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So when did your journey, you know, with health issues begin?
Well, I found myself, I've always been sort of an entrepreneur, have an entrepreneurial spirit, and I found myself in the business world after university and realized I was psychologically unemployable, so I couldn't really fit in terms of a corporate setting. So as I started to build business and grow business, I had achieved a certain level of success, but I got a big wake-up call when a couple of my business partners, who we were both burning the candles on both ends of the sticks, ended up succumbing to lifestyle diseases relatively earlier in life. And to me, it was a big wake-up call because we'd worked so hard, we developed the business, and they weren't able to really even enjoy it. And I realized if there wasn't a paradigm shift that came from me in my own life, that I could probably meet the same shift. And so I found out that I'd plugged into sort of a disease-causing, death-causing lifestyle, and I had to sort of unplug and take a journey back, in a sense, to my natural state. Because we believe in our Back to Nature movement that our natural disposition, our natural state is health and wellness. You, I, the doctor here, was not born to be sick. Yes, and matter of fact, the word dis-ease sort of presupposes that our natural state is ease. So when you're unwell, they say you're dis-ease. And so in regards, that's how I ended up coming back home, because I had found myself over 175 kilos, about 350 pounds. I chose to leave the world of high sales and marketing, very cutthroat business, and I've now chose to engage in organic farming, as well as sort of the launch of this Back to Nature movement, where we seek to inspire, motivate, and encourage Kenyans, East Africans, and Africans through a movement to adopt a more natural, holistic lifestyle approach towards maintaining your health, because if you're healthy, you don't want to lose it, or regaining it if you've lost it. And that's why I chose to go on this journey of consuming nothing but juices and liquids for 100 days and release about 35 kg on that journey.
So for you, this was an entire sort of life change.
Absolutely.
It was, you changed your job, you moved back home.
Yes.
I mean, big things had to happen for this to be under control. Do you think that you would have been able to keep your weight under control had you stayed?
It probably would have, however, because initially when I was coming back home, I wasn't planning to stay. My return ticket was for 3 weeks, but I've been here now going over 2 years. I found a sense of belonging. I found a sense of peace. I found a sense of contentment. And this is very important when a person is approaching a more healthier lifestyle. You know deep internally that maybe something is amiss. Something is wrong. It's sort of, you don't have the vitality you used to have. You don't have the mental sort of stamina. The memory is not there. Your sleep patterns are off. So internally you know, okay, if I can remember back at a time where I was healthy, I was happy, I was optimistic in life, and you may not be there. And so these are sort of signs that say, okay, a change needs to come. And slowly but surely, and that's what I decided to do myself, is in a sense start taking this journey back to a more natural, holistic sort of lifestyle approach in terms of what we believe in optimal health and wellness. Because we believe in thriving, not merely surviving. If it's possible to experience life at 100%, why settle for 40 or 30 or 50%? And so we believe in optimal living.
Okay, Doctor, I want to talk about how obesity affects the family setup, because according to the World Health Organization, more than 10 million African children are obese as of last year, and that number just keeps kind of growing. So when a child is obese, how does that impact the rest of their life, and is that something that they can transition into a healthy lifestyle at some point?
That's a good question, Joey. When a child is obese, first of all, the whole family is affected. Mostly obese children love to eat very fast. In fact, they finish the plate before the rest of the family has finished. But the thing is, the rest of the family ends up acclimatizing or getting used to the foods that this particular child is used to. So when they go to the supermarket, for instance, with the mom, the child dictates what the mom should buy, and eventually the obesity in one child affects the rest of the children. And I have had instances in my practice where a child comes with adult diseases like low back pain, for instance, and you know, these are not things that you expect in a child of 10 years, but with obesity you end up starting to have diseases that are not supposed to be meant for the child, including snoring and sleep problems, including not performing well in school because they can't sleep well, so their grades are not very good, and many other medical problems that are associated with that. In fact, adenoid hypertrophy, which is swelling of the inside part of the inner airways, just behind the nose, is one of the diseases associated with childhood obesity. And there are many other diseases. So beyond the impact of the social setup where children dictate what they want the parents to buy for them, crisps and all those types of things, there is also the fact that the whole family will be affected.
I think there's a misconception too with children where people just feel like they can eat whatever they want as long as they run around, you know, and are active, but actually, you know, effects of that go on quite intensely. So, you know, other than the fact that we are eating more, you know, starches and sugars and just a diet that is not very healthy, do you think we've become lazy?
We have become very lazy, because look at it this way: there's traffic jam, you're in the traffic for a long time, by the time you get to the office you've just sat, and maybe you didn't wake up in good time to do any physical exercise. So in the office you're just seated, you have your mandazi or a tea break or some whatever it is, and you put lots of sugar in it. So there is eating of lots of sugar, eating of lots of salt, eating of lots of fatty food, and besides that there is little exercise. And I think we are lazy because you don't have to go to a physical gym to exercise. You can exercise in the comfort of your home. You can walk through the stairs instead of using the lift. There are so many ways of exercising. There are also so many ways of eating the correct diet, and we don't plan for our diets, which is not a good thing at all, because I'm sure you plan for where you're going to eat, and that's part of what made you to lose the weight that you have lost.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe we can talk about your diet and your sort of regimen.
Yes.
How many kilos did you lose again, and how long did it take you to lose?
Very good. So I was 35 kg that I released. I'm still, by the way, on that particular journey, because it's a lifestyle. And I want to say that Willis and I are going to be engaging in a little challenge upcoming. But nonetheless, when I came back home, I realized that Kenya, being a fast-growing economy like several other African economies are, and so with that, there's a growing middle class. They have more disposable income, and they adopt, being that it's aspirational, they're adopting more Western modern lifestyles. And that's what's bringing a lot of the international chains here, fast food chains, the ones from South Africa here, and the Kenyan ones that are here. And on top of that, going down to the kibandas and the mandazis he talked about, and chibati. So the fast food culture has really, in a sense, taken over. And so with that, I decided that I was going to do something relatively unique. It was a little extreme, as a matter of fact, but it's no different than someone who says, I'm going to walk from Mombasa to Kisumu, or I'm going to ride a wheelchair across East Africa, or the First Lady says, I'm going to run a marathon. When a person does something extraordinary, it brings awareness to a particular issue. So when I found out, coming from the Ministry of Health here, that 22% of all deaths in Kenya, 370,000 deaths, 22% of all this are attributed towards lifestyle diseases. And these are non-communicable lifestyle diseases that small little modifications in lifestyle could be able to avert. So I said I was going to take on this journey of doing something a little extreme, where I consume nothing but liquid juices, vegetable juices, fruit juices, madafu, coconut water, sugarcane juice, herbal teas, on down the line, as well as supplemented with things like moringa and spirulina and flaxseed and chia seed, cayenne pepper, etc. And I did this for 100 days. I started in October. 100 days. 100 days.
Wow.
October 10th is when I started, and we broke it on the fast on January the 18th. And I took about 400 to 500 people along parts of the journey. So some people joined me for 3 days, others joined me for 7, others joined me for 28 days, etc. Because we believe that sometimes people treat their cars better than their bodies. So they'll take their car for servicing every 3 to 6 months, but they don't allow their body to service. Don't allow sometimes the body to detoxify, to cleanse out. And so we believe in starting first with cleansing out the body, and then adopting a more balanced, a holistic sort of diet. But that's just for the physical body. We look at the holistic person. So we deal with the 6 inches between our 2 ears as well, our mental, psychological state. We deal with the entire person, because a lot of times when it comes down to releasing weight, that weight first has to sort of be released here, mentally first, right? And so in that regards, this is a sort of what we've done now with this Back to Nature movement, that we've been able to help a lot of people now adopt a more natural, holistic lifestyle approach, where they're able to include a lot of the physical movement, even if you start with basic, simple walking around your particular house or your community, or taking the stairs, engaging in more fruits and vegetables in the diet, moving away from some of the processed fast food, leaving all the GMOs and things along those lines, so that you can sort of come closer back to nature and be at ease instead of dis-ease.
Right, and that's what I was going to say. Most people probably can't do the 100 days.
Absolutely. And we don't recommend that, by the way.
7 days was a long time for Willis. I know, I was here. But, just sort of some of the things that he's talking about, just basic things that we can do, that we can change tomorrow and wake up tomorrow and do something different just in our daily lives as Kenyans. Maybe walk a little bit more. Maybe you can talk about some more of those just everyday things that we can change about our lifestyles and diets too.
First of all, you must plan for your food. You must plan for your diet. What are you going to have at supper time? What are you going to have at breakfast? And don't skip meals, because honestly speaking, skipping meals does more harm than good. Because if you're trying to lose weight, you might just gain more weight. And if you're trying to stay healthy, you might just end up with some ulcers or some acid reflux or other diseases. So don't lose weight. Ensure that you plan for your meals. Ensure that your food is balanced, because as he's talked about juices, I'm certain that you had to ensure that it has carbohydrates,
Absolutely.
protein,
Absolutely.
even fiber,
Yeah.
even the relevant minerals like calcium,
Absolutely.
and proteins, and enough water in it. In fact, there are some juices out there that also do not have enough water, and water is so important, because actually there are some juices that have diuretic properties. You know what diuretics are? The ones that just make you lose water, you pee a lot, and then in quotes you're losing weight, but you're just losing water and getting dehydrated. So we have to be very careful on the lifestyle choices, and obesity is a lifestyle disease, just as he has mentioned, and it is associated with so many things, including breast cancer. For instance, the rate of breast cancer, or the risk of breast cancer, increases almost 30-fold in postmenopausal women who are obese. Obesity is one of the risk factors. And it's a risk factor for high cholesterol, for sugar diabetes. It's a risk factor for high blood pressure, the one we call hypertension. It's a risk factor for many things, and so including, of course, back problems, as I have mentioned, arthritis. So it is something that you have to work on. You cannot just sit and say, okay, so what can I do?
Right.
Yeah.
And these are very serious diseases and conditions. At which point did you sit down and say, you know what, I'm at risk for all the different diseases you just mentioned. This is serious business. I need to make a drastic change, as you did. What led you to that point?
Okay, it wasn't just, it was actually, I had started developing some of these lifestyle diseases. So I was in a pre-diabetic state. I was about 175 kilos, about 350 pounds. Yes, and so he talks about the hypertension, which is absolutely true. He talks about it. So what happens in lifestyle diseases? You start, say, with one, and it becomes almost like a domino effect, right? And one leads to another, starts complicating another, and then eventually you find yourself on 7, 8, 9, 10 different medications. And so in that regards, eventually you come to a point where you know that you deserve better in life and that you want better, and we believe, like I said, in optimal living. And so at some particular point in time you make a decision, and whether it is that you choose to just start walking, whether it is that you choose to start eating better, you say that I deserve better. And with that, that was very important for a community, and we're very big in the Back to Nature movement in terms of a support system. So even on my 100-day journey, I actually had medical supervision, because we do believe in professional supervision throughout adopting any healthier lifestyle. But then we also believe in a support system that allows you to share with other people on this journey, because when you're walking on the journey back to health and wellness, or back to your more natural state, it's a little difficult, because human beings are social creatures, to do it by yourself. But when you have friends, and they have that aspect of accountability, you have the aspect of hearing other people's testimony, you're able to share what your experiences are, then all of a sudden there's a community, a family that starts to develop, like the one that we have here in the Back to Nature system, that makes that journey a little bit more, I won't say easy per se, but
bearable.
There you go, bearable, as you adopt a healthier lifestyle.
Okay, so we're just winding up the conversation here on obesity, and I know, when we look at what's happening in the West, a lot of times there's all these different surgeries available to people, and there are different options for them that I feel like haven't quite been established here. So maybe, Dr. you can just tell us again, just as we wind this up, of why people should go to their general practitioner, get tested, see if they are predisposed to any of these diseases, and just care more about their general well-being.
It's very important that if you're obese, and obesity is a medical diagnosis of a BMI of more than 30. Overweight is just when you're just above the normal weight, BMI of 25, and obesity is BMI of 30. You must see the doctor, because besides the lifestyle choices like exercise, lack of exercise, and lack of eating, there are also a host of medical conditions that can lead to obesity. For instance, hypothyroidism, which is a thyroid problem, can just be the reason behind your obesity. and so you must be checked by the doctor. There's a gynecological condition called PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, where cysts start forming inside the ovary, can also be a cause of the obesity. And unless the doctor has treated that condition, you might not be able to sort it out. The doctor will also check cholesterol levels, sugar levels, and check your kidney and liver function tests and other things to confirm that the rest of your systems are okay before they then involve a nutritionist who will put you on a diet and exercise regime. But it's important to note that not all obese people are able to achieve their target through diet and exercise. Some achieve the diet through the doctor telling them, you have hypothyroidism, this is the treatment of hypothyroidism. Or you have this condition that is causing the obesity, and this is the treatment. And by the way, before I forget also, obesity is one of the risk factors for liver cirrhosis.
Wow.
Yeah. We all hear of alcohol and liver cirrhosis, but obesity can easily lead to what is called non-alcoholic liver disease that can also lead to liver cirrhosis. So it is important to see professionals just as he did before you decide, okay, I'm going to eat this and this. And this craze of saying, let me not take carbohydrates is also not true. You must go to the professional for professional advice.
Professional advice.
Yes.
Akunga, for those interested in joining your community, you've talked about your community Back to Nature. How is it that they can do that?
Okay, very well. Well, with that, I just want to say, yes, I agree with everything the doctor just mentioned, but I believe there's no medical doctor that will not agree that eating more fruits and vegetables, just adopting a more natural sort of way of living is bad or wrong for you. And so we say, no matter how small you start, if you put extra tomatoes, you put some sukuma wiki, you put some more carrots, you put a little, come back to a more natural instead of some of the processed foods, the fast food, etc. So with our particular Back to Nature movement, they can find us at backtonature.co.ke, or they can find us on Facebook, Unplug the Journey Back to Nature. And with that, there is a particular family and a community that lets people know that if you found yourself in an unhealthy state, whether you're obese, whether you found yourself, say, engaging in too much smoking or too much drinking, that we understand and we do not look at you that as a bad person. We all have made mistakes sometimes in life and sort of have gotten sort of distracted off the right path. So we say that there's a community and a family that will take you by the hand and say, it's okay, we've all made mistakes, but guess what? They say a journey to you can start walking back towards your birthright, which is optimal health and wellness. No one was born to be sick. We were born to be well, okay, to be at ease. And that's why they say you're dis-ease when you're unwell, okay? So in that regards, that's what our community is there for, and we advocate for adopting a more natural, holistic, dealing with the entire person, including the mental, psychological, emotional components, and a lifestyle. So it's not just a fad, not just, well, I'm going to go on a detox here or cleanse here for 7 days and then, I'm back to eating, And so it's a lifestyle approach. And when you build that community and you have the support system that can encourage you, that can motivate you, hold you accountable, sometimes and admonish you, then say, come on, let's get back on track. And that's, in a sense, what we're doing here at the Back to Nature movement. And we're in alignment with, in terms of the medical professions that are out there, the dietitians, the nutritionists, the physical movement, fitness experts, the psychological, mental, experts as well as some of the alternative therapies like the reflexology, massage, etc. And we're also big on the whole organic ecosystem. So organic farmers, organic consumers, organic market makers, and organic policy advocates, because there are a lot of chemicals that are put on the foods that are still being used here in Kenya, in this part of the world, that have been banned in many other parts in the world. So we do advocate actually for organic produce and consuming organic foods if you can get them. But if you can't, the mama mboga is okay, and you get a piece of ginger, a piece of garlic, some sukuma wiki, and if you have a juicer, even if you don't have electricity, you can go on OLX, get a 1,000 shilling hand-driven juicer, and along with your meals, drink some of the goodness, the enzymes, the antioxidants, the vitamins, the minerals, all the goodness that's in this chlorophyll, so you can experience this life at 100% and rejuvenate your body, mind, and spirit.
Well, I can tell you're very passionate about this, and you could probably go on for quite a while, but I think, you know, the important thing is that you've both encouraged people watching today to rethink their health and wellness and, you know, just try and stay healthy for themselves and their children. So thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Appreciate the conversation here on Power Breakfast. Do keep that hashtag going. The Man Cave, brand new with Willis Raburu, is coming up next. They will be discussing issues that affect you as a man. But we're allowed to watch too. So that's coming up next here on Citizen TV. Stay tuned.